pre-cut my dies, and I provided, I think I want to say 5 different dies in your kits. So if you bought the kit, then we're going to be playing with some of those dies. But if you don't have the kit, don't fret, because there's a lot of product probably that you already have that we can substitute for. So don't fret. And we'll just kind of go from there. If you have any questions once we start creating, definitely put them in the chat. And because I am watching for it. But if I miss it, just ask again. Now this here, which I'm going to be playing with today, was not part of the kit. I just recently added it to the shop, and I think it's really fun because one of the things that I find in holiday crafting, because I'll say it works not only for Halloween, but it works for Christmas, is I love to make those big moons. And of course, who doesn't want to see a Santa going across a moon? So I have about 5 or 6 of these in the shop. If you want one, grab one, because they probably won't last. I wanted to try it out first to see if I liked it, and then I'm going to order some more from my wholesaler. But yeah, this is in the shop, and this is going to be a lot of fun to play with. All right, so how does that sound, everybody? We'll go ahead and get started. If there's any questions, just kind of stop me along the way. I'm going to try to keep some of the messy crafting towards the end. So we'll start out working with digitals. So in your email, you should have gotten some freebies, right? And one of the things that the people that bought the kit, they got the kit to make this. And this is one of my favorite cards. I made this several years ago, and I haven't gotten rid of it because I love it so much. The one that I made here actually has rust texture on it because I created the rust. But I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to create the same design if you didn't have all the product. So I sent you out some digitals. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the digitals? And if there's any questions on them, feel free to ask. Now, the one thing that I love about digital kits is you can resize them. What I try to do is I try to give you a kit that's already pre-sized, ready to go. And I gave you a completed card front. I gave you some sentiments. I want to say I gave you this snowy background. So if you don't have a lot of the oxides or the distress inks to create your background, you'll have this to use for Christmas. And then I also created a digital with pieces. So if you wanted to have 3D, so for instance, this is the same exact card, right? But this is popped up and then this is popped up. So it gives you some options to rather just print and be done, or if you wanted to actually do some interactive creating. So that's what we're going to work on first. All right. So I've divided all of my card supplies into little packages. Hopefully I did a good job last night. So that way I'm not digging through my items. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is we're going to create our meter. Now in your kit, you should have gotten this little brick wall, right? And then you should have also gotten a meter. And then you also should have gotten these meters. Now, these are digitally created, and I created them to be able to work with this Tim Holtz die. Now, speaking of Tim Holtz, if you're not aware, I am a big fan of Tim Holtz. If you've been crafting with me for a while, you know that. And I like to have digital items that work well with Tim's products. So if I want something specific, that meter stamp, of course, was not necessarily designed to be a naughty or nice meter. But for Christmas, I did want to go ahead and make it that way. So I created this little meter to be able to work with that die. And I do that a lot. So you just want to go ahead and get your meter, and then you want to go ahead and place it right in the window, and then we can cut off the edges. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do. Now, in the email I had sent you, I did recommend getting glue that had a fine tip. There's a couple ways you can go with this. This is from scrapbook.com, and it has a pretty fine tip on it. But I also have this one. The liquid is a little bit more wet, I want to say, so it moves a little bit more. And what I like about it is it has this pin here that will automatically, when I close it, and it's very small. When I close it, I can make sure that the pin is in there, so that way my nozzle won't clog. So when you're working with items that, you know, are really thin, you don't necessarily want to have gobs of glue, and then this is a way to be able to control that. And I like using wet adhesive because it moves. I certainly would not call myself a perfectionist in crafting, but if I do make a mistake, I love the fact that I have an opportunity to correct it while the glue is still somewhat moist, right? So that's what I'm doing here. And then once you have it glued to the back, then you can just go ahead and trim it. And there's your meter. Okay, so once you have your meter, then the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to put it onto our brick wall. Now, one of the things that I like to do, and again, if you've been with me crafting for a while, you know that I like my walnut stain. So I'll just take some of my walnut stain. If you have black soot, I think on this particular one I used black soot, but just add it to the edges so that way you don't have any white showing if you did cut it out, but also just to add a little bit more of your antiquing. So I went ahead and I added that to the meter, and then now this is ready to add to my brick wall. Now, before we do that, in your kit, you should have gotten a gauge. So you're going to want to go ahead and attach this, and I recommend doing it before you glue it to the brick wall, so that way if your brad isn't very long, it will go through. So I have some brads here, hopefully. I can't remember if I gave you guys a brad or not. But what you're going to want to do is to go ahead and just cut, or not cut, but use a hole puncher to add a hole. If you don't have a hole puncher, or if you did it wrong, you see here, I don't know if you can see that. I did it way to the side. You can use one of your pokey tools, which I have around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. You can use one of your pokey tools to try to go through it. But whatever works best for you. So I'm going to try this again. All right, so once you have your hole punched where you want it, then you want to figure out exactly where this is going to go. I would just say somewhere in the middle, but if you need to be more exact, you can see exactly where your gauge is going to be holding or falling once you actually attach it. So I'm just going to punch that right in the middle. And then close it off. And now you have a gauge that can go either naughty or nice. Now, if you have the digital kit and you want an interactive gauge, you might have to create it yourself. But it's not real difficult. As you can see, it just was kind of round, and it has a line that kind of gets skinnier. So this should be fairly easy to recreate if you wanted to have a gauge that actually moved. So once you have your gauge attached, then you want to go ahead and attach your meter to your brick wall. Is everybody good so far? You do have a reactions button as well that you can use. So feel free to use your reaction buttons if you need to. All right. So in the kit, again, you should also have some fake screws that you can use. So you're going to have 4 of the straight round ones, and then you're going to have 4 that have edges. Now this can get your fingers a little bit dirty, but again, I like to add my walnut stain to these to just make it look a little bit more authentic. And then as I do that, you can go ahead and you can add your fake screws to your brick wall. Now these were actually this rust here that we have printed out for the screws. This was actually a rust background that I printed out for us, and then I cut it with my die. But if you have, I know Tim Holtz has some hardware in his line that you could certainly substitute for this as well. So does anybody have any questions so far on this particular card? Now, what I love about this design is you can use it for Valentine's Day as well. I did create a wood tag, which was a love meter that kind of moved. So you can create it as an actual, wall hanging. And you can also create it for just a tag. Okay, so Delina is asking if she prints out on cardstock or printer paper. So printer depends, right? Everything depends. I don't print on printer paper because it is too flimsy for me. I print on something that's a little bit more heavy, but not real heavy. I print on hammer mill. You can print on cardstock, but when you're printing, Delina, make sure that your printer indicates that it's cardstock, because sometimes when you print out on specific cardstock, your ink might smear. So just be aware of that. You can certainly print out on paper and then add that to, something a little bit thicker. Maybe you want your back to be a little bit thicker. So you can print out on thin paper and then glue it to something thicker. And that would work as well. A lot of times, and I'll show you this when we get to it, but like for these Dear Santas, these were just stickers. And what I ended up doing, I printed on sticker paper, and then I backed it onto It's like anything that's cardboard. So I save all of my cereal boxes. I save all of my pasta boxes because I like to be able to have it a little bit durable. And of course, you can't print on that, right? But you can print it out on sticker paper and then add it to something a little bit more thicker. And that works out great. All right. So again, I'm just adding a little bit of my walnut stain. To the screws. Now, one thing I do want to mention that I am going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the class. So you have to be present to win. So all of you guys that are able to stick it out, I will be giving away, I think I have 3 stamp sets I'm going to be giving away. So I'll be doing that giveaway at the very end. All right, so now that we have our brick wall, we have our gauge that moves. Now it's time to put together our card. Now, there's a lot of ways we can go with this, y'all. So we could go with the printable. We can use this here. We can just go with regular Christmas paper. There's a lot of choices when it comes to that. I'm going to go ahead and see what I have here. I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm going to go ahead and use just regular Christmas paper for mine. Now, in the kit, again, I did give you some plaid paper, so that's always a great option, of course. If you don't want to use that, you know, there's lots of Christmas cardstock out there that would work just as well. But for mine, we're going to go ahead and use these 2 pieces. But again, the main image is this here, and then you can just add whatever cardstock you have, you know, anything that you want, basically. Now, this card is an A2 card. So I'm going to cut this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. This is a personal choice. I like to have a white border on mine. So that's just the way that I do it. And this actually is already ready to go. The second piece is 4 1/2 by about 3 1/4. So that's already ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? So there's my background. And then in your kit, you should have gotten a naughty or nice piece. I actually, on this one, this particular one, it was washi tape. So I recreated this in a digital image because I just love it. I think it's so fun. And you can make a choice here. My plaid piece is 5 1/4 by 4. So you're going to have 1/4 of an inch when you do an A2 card. Yep. And then you're going to go ahead and take your naughty and nice. And again, if you don't have this, you can use regular washi tape. I just like the way that it borders it. So that's why I added it. And it's just really cute. And then let's go ahead and place our meter down. Karen, I sent it. So if you bought the kit, you got the kit to do this. If you didn't buy the kit, then you wouldn't have got this one. This was it's actually in the shop now, Karen. Did you actually buy the kit? Because this was part of the kit that was purchased. It is a digital image in the shop, so you can go grab it if you don't have it. If you bought the kit, okay. So you needed to email me to let me know you bought the kit because I wasn't able to keep track of it. And the email was last week. I don't remember specifically when. Shoot me an email at Taylormadecards4u.com, and I will get you the digital kit if you purchase the kit. So yeah, so I did send out several kits, but you had to email me based on requesting the kit. Make sure also you are subscribed to my mailing list. I think you are, because you wouldn't have gotten the email for the link for this class. But yeah, they were sent out last week. And if you want to, Karen, so you can play along either way, the kit itself is $350 if you purchase it. Because I can't email it to you right now, it will automatically send you an email, and then I can refund you after the class. I just can't stop and do it right this second. All right, so there is your naughty and nice, and now it's ready to actually be added to a card base. So this is where your pre-cut card bases kind of come in handy, right? Because you don't have to go searching for a card base. You don't have to go cut it. Okay, yeah, Karen, just send me an email after the class and I'll get you the kit. So this is my pre-cut cardstock. I'm just going to score this at 4 1/4 because it is an A2 card. And for those of you that did purchase the physical kit, the digital kit was part of that price that you paid. So if you didn't get the digital naughty or nice kit, email me after the class and I'll make sure you get it. All right. So as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my white card base. And then the last thing you need to do is just to add your Dear Santa. Now, I'm going to go ahead and trim this. And then I'm going to add a little bit more walnut stain. And then if you want to, you can pop this up. It's completely up to you if you want to pop it up. If you don't want to pop it up, I have this really thin foam tape. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of depth. So I'm just getting the backing of my foam tape off. And you can add your Dear Santa. And that's it. But isn't that a cute card? It doesn't have the texture of the original one, but I did have a class last year, and I'll probably do more classes next year on creating texture. So I can show you how to create texture on some of your cards. But this gives you at least the look of rust without actually having all the texture. Now, for those of you that actually ordered the kit, let's put this together really quick for you. So again, this kit is, I think it's $3.50 in the shop, and you can print it over and over again. So if you like this design, but maybe you don't necessarily, maybe you don't have the die to create these gauges, right? Well, then you can just print out this kit and you can create this card over and over again. And that's what's fun about digital images is, if you have a design that you like, and this is what got me to creating digital images. I would love some of the product that I would buy, but once it was gone, and it made me very sad. So don't throw away your piece of paper. You can use that for the inside sentiment. But you can just cut out the digital. And you see it's going to fit perfectly on this. So you can just layer as you go, really. And if you don't want to do the layering, then you just print out the one that already has all of the, images layered on, and you'll be ready to go. So this is the digital image. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut out my gauge. Now on mine, I actually matted it against some black cardstock. That's a personal choice. I wanted it to have a little bit more substance. Again, when I print out my digitals, it tends to be a little bit thinner cardstock because I find that the Nina White prints really, really nice, as well as the hammer mill, which is what I use. And that tends to be a little bit thinner. But you can go ahead and mat this just to give it a little bit more strength. So yeah, so if you didn't buy the kit, you can certainly buy it at any time because it is out there. And this can be one of your, cards that you make in advance. I kind of categorize my cards between, real simple, easy cards and more difficult cards. The more difficult designs tend to go to my mom, my sisters, and then the easier ones go to just general friends and family, because all of our Christmas cards can't be masterpieces, but they can certainly still be cute. Now, as we get closer to Christmas, I'll be creating those masterpiece cards. Because that is just one card per class. Delina, you're asking me about my glue. This is a 3-in-1 beacon. I get that at Joann's and I love it. A couple of reasons why I love it is because, number one, it's forgiving. So if I make a mistake or if I need to have movement, I can do that with that glue, and it really works well. It's very strong glue. All right, so I just added a couple of these pop-up foams. just to give it a little bit of height. Oops. And in your kit, you can choose whether it's going to be naughty or nice. You have that choice because this gauge doesn't move, unfortunately. And then you have these labels here, right? Now, if you print on sticker paper, this is going to go real fast for you. You don't even need to have glue. And Amazon just had their Prime Day, and I think I ordered about, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 sheets of sticker paper. All right. So now that you have your sheet, then you can just go ahead and just glue it down. Now I have around here, I want to show you a little trick. I have these razor blades, and I have these razor blades because when I'm doing multimedia and it dries, I can use this to clear my table. But I also like straight blades because if you're, trying to measure something and you've already glued it down like I did here, you can actually just line it up with where you want it to cut, and then it cuts right off. You got to be careful though, because these razor blades are sharp. But that's a little trick that I use to make sure I have a straight cut without using the scissors. So I'm going to add my naughty and nice to the top because I don't want to cover Santa. And I should have added some walnut stain to that, but I'll do that right now. Now, also on this printable kit, if you wanted to add your own brads, you could have done that right here to add brads, just to give it a little bit more, texture. But then finally, you can pop this up as well if you want to, or you can glue it straight. And that's with the digital kit. So let me just add this, and we'll see if anybody has any questions. All right. So again, I just added a little bit of pop-up foam. And I kind of covered my Santa here. You might want to shift that up just a bit if that bothers you. And there you go. So whether you have the actual product or the digital, they're both really cute. I mean, they're definitely a little different, right? But they're really cute. So if you want to make this card and didn't buy the kit necessarily, or you don't have the die cut to do that, then you can use that digital kit. And I think digital, a lot of people think digital crafting or digital printables aren't necessarily crafting, and I disagree with that. You may not, but I use a lot of my digitals for my crafting, and I just think they come out wonderful. So that's our first card, and you can make this one over and over again with a printable. All right, so does anybody have any questions about that particular card while I clean up, and we'll move on to the next one? And I'm watching the chat, so if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll try to answer them for you. Is the brick paper Tim Holtz? No, it's not. The brick paper was a printable that I had. You can make your own brick wall. That's another way you can go. I know that there are some brick wall stencils out there where you can create your own brick wall. But no, that particular one was not. I think also there are papers out there that of course have brick walls. So you can always find your brick wall. It's not an uncommon background. So it should be relatively easy for you to find. All right. Okay, so the next card I want to share with you, or technique, I guess let's talk about, is designer paper. So we printed out our paper, but there's a lot of pre-printed designer paper out there, right? Christmas paper is not hard to find. It's not a scarce commodity. In your kit, if you bought the kit, I did send you a plaid paper pack, because plaids are timeless in my opinion. Plaids are great for Christmas. You can find plaid paper. I'm just reading the comment here. So Cordelia, I bought the kit, used the card front, then I cut the extra gauge and just popped them over the other ones. And dear Santa, and popped them over the other ones. And did that work for you, Cordelia? How does that look? I wish I could see it. So they're not flat. Yes, I know what you're saying. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, so you already had the flat one and then you cut out the other one and popped it up. Absolutely. You can definitely do that. Also, if you add a little border, you can pop it up. So yeah, there's a lot of ways. You can make it work. So it looks good. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, good for you for figuring that out. Let's see here. Like a decoupage. Exactly. Yep. So in your kit, you would have gotten some, in fact, I think this is it right here. You would have gotten some plaid paper. And I want to talk about plaid paper because this is another design that is very easy to work with, you guys. So if you need to create quick and easy Christmas cards, but you don't have a lot of time, again, these aren't our masterpieces, right? These are the ones that we're going to create maybe mass amounts, but are still cute. Then I want to show you how I did this. So many of us have Christmas tree dies, right? And show me by a show of hands here, who has a Christmas tree die? Because they're pretty easy to find out there, I'd say. And for this, all you needed was some plaid paper, some white paper, and a Christmas tree die to do this. And I'm going to show you how I did this. Now, this little zigzag here, this is a die used for a snowbank. And I'll show you what die I used. Karen has one. Jamie has one. Yeah, those Christmas tree dies are everywhere, right? So you can do this with a Christmas tree. I like the Christmas tree because I like it long, but I suppose you could do it with other images as well. But it's a very, very simple design. So let me show you how I did this. So the first thing I did, if I can find it, is I have an old die from Tim Holtz, and you guys might recognize this. This came out a few years ago. And what I did is I just took this, which is the snowbank die. And I took a piece of white cardstock that was 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I just kind of estimated, right? I got out my little Christmas tree die, and I kind of put it on the paper to figure out exactly how much room I needed. And then I cut it. And then once I cut it, I took my Christmas tree die and I cut this out. So I did this last night because I didn't want to have to keep jumping up and down to show you. But it's very simple. And then for this particular one, again, I just did my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, or 4 inches by 5 1/4 for my plaid, and then my white background. And again, your white background can be whatever size you want. Look at the image that you're working with and just kind of make sure that, you know, aesthetically it looks good. So we're going to make this one right here, but I wanted to show you how I did this. So if you have any of these border dies, some of them have zigzags, some of them have the snowbank, or if you don't, you know, you guys, it's just you know, a scissors cutting. It doesn't have to be perfect. So yeah, so Delina's saying Lawn Fawn has heel dies that curve like that. Absolutely. But if you don't want to invest the money, I'm saying you don't have to go out and buy a die to do that. So some of your old die sets, you know, be creative, think outside of the box. This is an old die set, but as you can see, I was able to incorporate that one die to use on the card we're going to make right now. So just, you know, be creative. All right, so Cordelia, you're saying that none of your dies are that detailed. I think this is what was in the kit. I think I have one left in the shop if you want to grab it. But yeah, this is the die that I used that was in the kit. And I know you asked me about buying the kit, and I was sold out. But I think I have one left in the shop if you want it. All right, so let's get to this card. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick out whatever piece of paper you want. And it could be any, it doesn't even have to be plaid, you guys. If you wanted it to be a more traditional, you know, black and white, maybe have snowflakes on it. I mean, I think that's what I'm going to do right now. This would certainly work as well. So just pick out whatever paper you want to use, and then we're going to cut it. So your cardstock is going to be cut at 4 inches and 5 1/4. And then remember, we cut out some pre-printed card, or we already cut out some cardstock, so we're ready to go with that. And these you can make in mass. So that's really what I'm focusing on today, are, again, not the masterpiece cards, but cards that are still really, really cute that you can create in bulk. Because that's what I do for the holidays. I create about 10 masterpiece cards, what I call masterpiece, right? The ones that take a lot of work. And then the rest of them are just easier cards. And my masterpiece, and I'll call it a masterpiece, my masterpiece cards are heavier, are bulkier, and they cost more to mail. So if you create too many of those masterpiece cards, remember, you're going to be paying a small fortune for your mailing your cards. Some of these simpler cards don't have a lot of texture. They don't have a lot of weight. And you'll be able to get away with not having to pay extra postage. Now, a lot of people have gotten away from sending handmade cards, but we're card makers, right? We make cards. So I'm guessing that you probably send out your cards. So having them not weigh a lot is important. Now, when I cut this, and I wish I could say I did this intentionally, but this is a good way to show you how I fix this. I don't know if you can see it's a little bit jaggedy. I'm okay with that, but if you're not, you can find these sanders. This actually was from a pedicure kit. And I snagged it to use for my crafting because if your edges aren't smooth, you can easily smooth them out by using this sander. So I just wanted to show that to you really quickly. And then I like to round my corners. So Delina says she is stamping mixed floral wreaths on each 80-pound stamping per card so far. Oh, 80 cents per card. Yeah, it can add up for sure. All right, so I'm just adding a little bit of my walnut stain around the edges. Again, this is a personal choice. If you wanted to have it crisp and clear, you could do that as well. And then all I'm going to do is add it to the edge, just like that. Oh, 80 stampings per card. Holy cow. That's pretty detailed. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and line this up. Again, I'm using that liquid glue, so there's some movement. And there you go. Now, the only thing you have left to do is if you wanted to add a little bling, you could do that. I added some little baby pearls on this, but if you're making these, you know, mass to mail, you want your cards to be flat. So that might not be something you want to add. And then for your sentiments, let me get there. I'm going to get there. One of my favorite sentiments, and I'm not here to promote Mr. Holtz, of course, but this is one of my favorite sentiments because it has so many sentiments and you can use it. You can use it for lots of different cards. The one that I used is In the Air. There's a feeling of Christmas. But there's so many good sentiments you can use on this. Let's see. Let's just do a simple season's greeting. If your stamp is too long, I stamped it and then I just cut it out where I thought it was appropriate. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to stamp out your sentiment and then, you know, cut it to make it work, because I think that's perfect. On this one, I cut the sentiment in half. On this one, I just did the plain old sentiment. And then on this one, I'm just going to do a simple season's greeting. You know, not every card needs to be a masterpiece, right? But it still is really cute. And it's very simple. And Kate says she loves the idea. It's a very simple card that you can recreate in no time at all. So I'm going to just go ahead and use my handy dandy Misty. And sometimes, remember, you guys, sometimes less is more. I would not call myself a clean and simple card maker. I definitely would not call myself that. But this is a very crisp, easy card, right? And it didn't take a lot of effort. And I think it's fabulous. I love this design. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of black ink. And there you go. So very, very simple. As you can see, it did not take us long at all to make this card. And you can easily pop these out. Now, if you're doing this on a assembly line, you know, you're going to want to be smart about it. What I would do probably is I would cut all of my white cardstock you know, and my tree or whatever you're going to use. So I would cut several of those. And then I would cut my backgrounds, several of those. I'd have my cardstock all ready to go. And I'd just go, I would put all of my backings, bam, 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 bam. And then I would add these, you know, and then I would do my sentiments last. So very, very easy, but really, really classic, right? A very classic Christmas card that I think your family and friends would love. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up here a minute. If you guys have any questions on this particular design, please let me know in the comments while I start to clean up. Yeah, it definitely is a great card for mass production. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. So I'm just cleaning off my area here. I have all of my specific designs in baggies, but it does take just a minute to get cleaned up. All right, so yeah, so very easy card, very simple, but very traditional. And it's one that I really, really love as well. All right, so let's move on to the next card. All right, so the next card I want to talk about, again, I'm going to kind of jump back to principles. So I believe I sent everybody this wonderful Santa. Did everybody get this? I hope that I did. That was my intention. Hi, Diane. Yes, everything is taping, so you'll be able to catch the replay. I want to go ahead and talk about this one next. So this one, again, we're talking about real easy Christmas cards to create during the holidays. Yeah, I see some people confirming that, yes, you got this. So in your kit, perfect, wonderful, yeah. So if you bought the kit, Carolyn, you also should be getting the digital. Just again, a reminder, if you bought the physical kit, you also get a digital kit. So make sure that you email me so I can get you your digital kit as well. This was one of my one of my mailings, and I included it as a freebie. So yeah, so if it was in your kit, I want to go ahead and talk about this. So what I ended up doing with mine is I took one of my stitch dies and I cut it a little bit smaller. I'm not going to jump up and do that right now, but when you're working with this, you can cut it down if you want to. I'm just going to trim it myself. But this is one that you can create over and over again. And it's a very classic card. I love it. It's one of my favorite Santas, and I love the fact that I have it in a digital image. So that's what we're going to create next. I'm going to show you how simple it is to work with this Santa. So again, we're going to go kind of black, white, and red. Those are traditional Christmas colors. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim this down. But if I wasn't on camera, I would be using probably a die that had a stitch on the back around it. But I am on camera, so I'm not going to jump up and do that. So this is getting trimmed down to 3.5. checking it out as I go. Yep. So yeah, this is down to a little bit more. Okay, so 3.5 by 4 3/4 is what I trimmed this down to. Yeah, he definitely is an old-timey kind of guy. Absolutely, Kate. He's very traditional Santa. I love it. And again, I am a vintage-inspired crafter, so he's just up my alley. I'm going to take some black cardstock, and I'm going to trim it down to 4. I'm guessing here what I want. 4 inches by 5 1/4. That's typically what I'll trim down to, and let's see if it works. Yep, that's perfect. All right. So now that you have your Santa, there's a couple ways you can create this card, right? You can just leave him like this, and he's perfect as he is, in my opinion. All you need to do is pop him onto a white card base, and you're good to go for some wonderful Christmas cards. Nobody is going to complain about getting this Christmas card, I guarantee you, because he is an awesome image. But if you want to add to it, you can use Copic markers. You can use pencils. And all you need to do is just add a little bit, right? I have Copic markers, so that's what I'm going to do. Yep, you could yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can, because you're going to cut it down. I gave it to you big enough where you can put a border, because that was my intention. But yeah, absolutely. All ways, a lot of ways to be able to cut that down. For sure. All right, so if you decide you want to color, I'm going to show you what I do on this Santa. So I use a very, very light gray for his beard. And the only reason I do that is because I like to outline it. I printed on off-white cardstock because I like the way that it looks. It's more old-fashioned-y, but certainly you can print on white cardstock. And then for the hat, there's a couple of colors that I use for Christmas. And let me find them really quickly here. I use R89 for you Copic color people. And then this is R29 and then R27. So I'm going to preface it by saying I am not a professional Copic colorer, but I do okay. When I am doing shading and I'm doing Copic colors, 3s are kind of my go-to because you can shade with 3s. So let's go ahead and show you how I do this. So I always start out with my darker color. And I outline my Santa hat. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just simply outlining my Santa hat with my R89, which is my darkest, and I wouldn't even call it a red. It's more of a maroon, but I think it's very classic for a hat. And then if you wanted to, I mean, you see here his suit, but I didn't color that. So there's my darkest color. Then I'll go to my R29 and I pull my color. So as you can see, when I first did it out, I outlined, and now I'm pulling my color. And again, this is just how I do it. I'm sure there are lots of techniques out there on how to do this. But I'm just pulling from my darker color and I'm pulling it in. Okay. And then I take my lightest color, which is my R27, and I just color the whole thing. So I'm filling in what I haven't colored yet. And then I'm bringing in again the shading. That's how I color with Copic markers. Again, lots of ways to color with Copic markers, but that's how I do it. Now for his face and the white, I get the lightest gray, which is N0. And all I do is just outline my white. It's not fancy, it's not real dark, but it's just enough to give it a shadow. And that's really what I'm going for here, is just a shadow. And you can even do it inside his beard if you wanted to. You know, you could do it around his mustache. Completely fine. So that's, and then, oh, let's not forget the pom-pom. Pom-pom, of course. All right, so that's how I do the Santa. I also do the holly. And the holly, I don't use shading for typically. I just pull out the one green and I go with it because the holly is pretty small. So I just give it color. And then the little berries, I'll use that R89 again. Okay, so I'm going to finish up this Santa card. Does anybody have any questions about this particular card? Again, very simple, but very classic. And, you know, working with a printable, you can create this design over and over again, right? So I'm just adding the green, and then I'll come back in and just put dots for my berries. And then the only thing you need to do is add it to your white card base, which we'll do now. So I'm hearing that some people didn't get the freebies. So after the class, I'll resend the freebie again that everybody got, which should have included the Santa, I believe. And if you bought the kit, again, as a reminder, send me an email. Teresa, I'm going to send you the Santa. It's free. It's my gift to you. So I'll send this to you after the class. I'll send it to everybody. And if you bought the kit, send me an email and I will send you the naughty and nice. Delina, you're asking about the cards inside. Yes, I will get to that. Once we make all of our cards, we're going to talk about the inside of our cards. Absolutely. But I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people think they're done at this point, and you're not. Our inside cards should look as pretty as our outside cards. So yes, I will be covering sentiments. All right. So yep. So I will talk about the inside in just a bit. Now you can call this done, but as you can see here, this one has little stars. This little stamp here, which I think cost me 99 cents at Joann's, is one of my favorite Christmas stamps. And that sounds crazy, right? Because it's just a little star, but it adds as a filler. It's a great filler. And I love I love adding it to my cards. And so if I have white space, you know, maybe I just want to add a little bit more to my cards. And look at here. So I had ink on my fingers and I added that. So I'm going to just stamp right over that. And it kind of disappeared. Not really, but enough where I'm okay with it. So keep in mind, if you have ink on your hands, there's some ways that you can save them. So that's our Santa card. So I know some people didn't get this freebie. It is my gift to you. I will be sending it out after the class again. And I will be sending out a what do you call it? A class, a survey as well that I'd appreciate you fill out as well. But yeah, I'll do that after the class for you guys. But that's it. So again, another classic card, very easy to make, very easy to duplicate, working with digitals, and still has that homemade touch to it. All right, so if anybody has any questions on that card while I kind of get ready for my next demo, feel free to jump in and ask some questions. I'm just going to get ready for the next card. We've been going for almost an hour and a half, so in about 10 minutes, I'm going to just give us just like a 3-minute break to get up and stretch, grab some water, do whatever we need to do. But I'm going to start getting ready for my next card. All right, so how's everybody liking the class so far? I hope you guys are enjoying yourself, and I'm giving you some good ideas. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about are scene cards. So let's see here. A lot of the ideas have to go jet out and I will have to watch the later. Okay, Kate. Well, I'm glad that you were able to stop by for a bit. Bobby, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Fabulous. Thanks, Teresa. I appreciate that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in about 9 minutes. We're going to take like a 3-minute break to get up and stretch. It's never a good idea to sit for hours on end. But we're going to just get started here, and then I'll give us a quick break. So let's talk about scene cards. Now, when I say a scene card, this is a card that has a scene to the background, right? I mean, our little Christmas tree card is the start of a scene, right? I mean, you have the Christmas tree. You could have easily added some little critters to it, maybe a house in the background. But this is the start of a scene card, in my opinion. But sometimes we want to just get a little bit more fancier, right? And these are the ones that I sort of call our masterpiece cards. These are the ones that take us a little bit of time. These are the ones that you can't just sit and pop, 20 out in 10 minutes. They're going to take you a little time, but we want our scene cards, right? That's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of creating Christmas cards, is we get to create scene cards. So I'm going to share a few with you, and then we're going to take a quick break for like 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll create some of these. So when I think about scene cards, these are the type of things I talk about. These are cards where you look at it and you have like, a house in the background with a car in front. Maybe you have a window with a little girl looking through it. You might even just have a real simple one where you have, transparent with a little paper doll. Now, this would not be a card making class without me bringing out my Tim Holtz paper dolls. So for those of you that know me, I love my paper dolls. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, we all love paper dolls, right? But I have a little bit of an obsession, and I'll share my obsession with you. These are all filled with paper dolls. And I have unopened bags as well. I've got Christmas ones. I've got Halloween ones. I love working with the paper dolls because they are easy additions to just bring more of a vintage vibe to a card. So that's what I mean when I talk about scene cards. Many of these scene cards require dies, but you don't have to get real fancy. This one was just an oval die with the Merry Christmas sentiment, and I added a paper doll. So these Merry Christmas dies were part of the kit if you purchased it. These houses and the car I pre-cut for you. These came from scrapbook.com and Tim Holtz. I couldn't afford to give you guys those dies because then my kit would have cost a lot more than it did. But I cut those out for you. This tree was part of the kit. This vellum here was part of the kit. I pre-cut the window for you guys. And then this little girl with the tree came with a whole set. It's a die set that I gave you guys as part of the kits. So these are what we're going to create. We're going to create all three of these. So let's do this. Let's take about a 3-minute break, you guys. If you need to get up and, stretch your legs, check on the dog. I'm going to get up and just stretch for just a minute. And then we're going to be back and we're going to create these cards. So I'm going to get set up as well. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And I'm just going to, again, get up for a second and get ready to make these cards with us. So, Gina, you're asking me about the Backstage Pass. Yes. So the Backstage Pass gives you access to all of my digitals. And starting in December, you're going to get free classes. So I have that September class, my Halloween class, that is not part of it. But starting in December and the rest of the year, going into next November, all the classes will be free. Yep. If it's a kit class, you'll have to buy the kit, of course, but you guys will have first dibs to the kits. So I will give you a heads up on the kits. Anybody that's a Backstage Pass holder, since you'll have the free class pass. So yeah, basically it's going to be a class pass. You're going to be able to have a free code to get into all my classes for free. So Delina, you're asking what a Backstage Pass is. I did send out an email earlier today. A Backstage Pass is one of my subscriptions, I guess. And what it does is a Backstage Pass to all of my digital items. So some of the items, like for instance, the the Naughty or Nice digital kit. If you were a Backstage Pass holder, you would have been able to download it for free. So any of my digital images, if you're a Backstage Pass holder, you're going to have a code to, you'll have a code to be able to download any kit that you want. And it's good for a year. So you pay up front for a year. I'm giving you a 10% discount. No, it's you pay up front, Delina. And because I don't want to necessarily do it month to month, because some people may download everything and cancel it after a month. So it is a year subscription, and it's just a once a year fee. And I did give you guys a discount code using the code Christmas for 10% off of the Backstage Pass. The kits for Halloween are going to start going. I'm going to start putting them together next week, Cordelia, and they'll probably go out the week after that. So I have, you're good. If you get paid next week to buy the kit, yeah, just make sure you register for the class, because the class and the kit are separate. So register for the class, and then you can order the kit. But yeah, I had them on back order, trying to put together, I have to go out and buy all these items for my kids. So I have everything in, and I'm going to start putting them together. So you'll be good. All right. And I appreciate the question, Delina, about the Backstage Pass. Hopefully I answered your question. All right. So let's get to making background cards. So in your kits that you purchased, you have everything that you need to make these cards. If you didn't buy the kit, you should have an oval die, hopefully, in your arsenal of craft supplies. You can easily make a square window by using strips, and we'll talk about that when I get to this one. And then this one is a scrapbook.com die, and I love it. I highly recommend it. It's not even a Christmas die, you guys, but I'm going to use it for Christmas. If you have little wreaths, you can put those on the door. I mean, it's a great die set. Sunny Lane Homes, I believe, is what it's called. And I haven't even used this one yet, but I did cut out all these little itsy bitsy pieces for you guys that bought the kit. So that's what we're going to be making next. Now, another scene card that you can make, and in the kit, again, I gave you these carolers. Victorian carolers are very classic in my opinion. They make great cards without a lot of effort. This is a card that I made last year, and it's a little bit more detailed. I created cobblestones. And then I also have that it lights up here, and it lights up using Pearl Blossom One Light, Pear Blossom. So that's what I'm using for the light. And then you just push it and it lights up. So if you're making a card, the ones that bought the kit have this, and you can make a very traditional card. We're going to be creating some backgrounds in a minute. I sent you guys a sheet of color combinations for making backgrounds. Did everybody get that? Because it's a great resource for Christmas, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. But yeah, I sent you guys all a sheet to be able to use combination backgrounds. So hopefully that was a help for you. But yeah, so if you did get the carolers, we're not going to necessarily create this card, but I wanted to show you an example of what you could do with those carolers that you got those in your kit. But what I did want to show you before we jump into these cards is another idea for using some of these vellum sheets. So you guys got, I think you got one vellum sheet in your kit for those of you that bought. And vellum, of course, is see-through. If you don't have these sheets, I might get some more for Christmas because I really think they're beautiful. But you can get your own vellum sheets, and I believe you can stamp and heat emboss vellum. So if you have images that you love and you want to stamp on vellum, you can do that as well. I might do a tutorial on vellum stamping. But yeah, vellum is great because you get that see-through look, which is really pretty awesome. And this is what I wanted to share with you. So again, in the kit, you got these, this little lamppost and these little berries here. Are these here. And these were part of my, that in the very beginning I shared with you this kit. And these are what I used for my candy. If you can see that there. I do have some of these candy jars available in the shop if you want to get some of these little colored beads to fill your jars. And they're really cute, but that's what I used for my berries. So Cheryl's saying yes on a vellum tutorial. Yeah, I sure will, because vellum is great and I think it's underutilized. So for this particular one here, all I did was cut out a, it's about 6 by 4-ish. And I cut an oval circle in it. I also, once I cut it out, I also threw it through an embossing folder. I don't know if you can see that. And then I added my little paper doll. But what I wanted to show you is how I used this little one light. And I just want to show you real quick. A lot of people are intimidated by these lights. And I'll send you guys links to these as well. I am an affiliate of Pear Blossom, so I'll send you that link. These are really simple to work with. So if you've been wanting to start working with, light up cards, this one here is a very good starter. And I want to show you how it works. Because when I first got it, maybe it was just me. I was a little confused. So you're going to have your battery, and then you're going to have your light up thing. And as you see right now, you hit it, nothing happens. But what you need to do is you need to take your battery and just slide it right in here. And then now there's your light. So when you're positioning your card, you just want to make sure that you're kind of testing where you want it to light up, right? So I was playing with this last night, and I didn't want to fuss with it on camera. That's why I've kind of already put this together. I fixed it so it would come exactly behind my lamppost. Now, you might be wondering why I have this oval here in the middle. It's going to be covered, but I didn't want background dark paper on my vellum. I wanted it to be white background. So that's why I have that hole. If I would have just left it plain, see, it changes the look of the vellum. But because it's over white cardstock, it just gives it a little bit more of a brighter look. So like I said, I positioned this perfectly so it would go right over the light post. And then I pre-stamped this little push button here. And this is there it is. My favorite things for interactive cards. And I've been getting really into interactive cards recently. I'm going to be doing several of them for Christmas, but this gives you all of the little interactive words that you might need. So it was an investment for me to get this, and I have some other ideas, but I'm going to be doing some interactive cards over the holidays. But that's just a real quick, if you wanted to start working with cards that light up, this is a very simple one. So again, once you have everything in place, you've got your vellum, then all you need to do is get some foam tape, because you're going to have a little bit of a lift here again because of the piece. And then just add it. You use the interactive stamps often. Yes, I think they're so fun. A lot of people are really getting into them. And I'm one of those people. So I'm going to be doing more and more of them because I think they're really, really fun. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and add my foam tape. So just nothing hard about this, right? But before I do that, I want to show you something, and I wish I could say it was on purpose, but it wasn't. But I want to show you how to fix crooked cardstock. So you might have seen here that my cardstock isn't exactly even, and I noticed it, unfortunately, after I glued it down. But with simple washi tape, you can fix the perception of it being off. So all I'm doing is I'm just figuring out what my line should look like at the bottom. And that's how I'm adding my washi tape. And that kind of deceives the eye a little bit. And this can be as thick or as thin as you want it to be. I went with thin. Let me just get a straight piece here. All right, so I'm just going to start out. I'm coming where I want it to start. And then I'm going to just, instead of following the line here, I'm going to visually make sure that my line is straight, my white line is straight. And then that way it takes away the perception that your card isn't mounted straight, because now you have the same amount of white showing there. So that's how, and it's decorative. So that's how and I wish I could say I did that on purpose. I didn't. But after I had glued this down, of course I wasn't going to redo it. I realized that my paper wasn't straight, but I wasn't too worried. There's always ways to fix mistakes. So I don't hardly throw away things. And then again, using my little straight blade to make sure I get a straight cut. And that's how you can fix a card base that's not straight. And now it doesn't even look crooked. So that's just a little tip. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove the backing of the foam tape. And for those of you that have hardware stores close to you or Harbor Freight, this is where I got this. This is just a Harbor Freight tool that I use as my pokey tool. And it comes in a set of 5, I want to say. But this is what I use for my poking tools and to lift up my foam tape and whatnot. All right, so now that I have my foam tape, I'm going to go ahead and put this right on. And that's a little up. I'm not going to worry about that for this demonstration, but now you can see I have a little light up in my light post. And that's it, just as easy as that. So your interactive cards, if you want to start getting into them, but you're just a little intimidated by them, this is a great way to get started with just a simple light up. All right, so let's, oh, and then again, if you wanted to, once you have it down, if you've never worked with these remnant rubs, you can easily add a little sentiment. I wouldn't stamp at this point because, unless you're totally confident in your stamping, I'm certainly not. I wouldn't want to misstamp something. So I would just put a little remnant rub that I can make sure I can add perfectly. So this is from Tim Holtz's set from last year, these remnant rubs. If you've never used these, it's one of my staples in my craft room, and I love them. And all you do is just cut out the piece that you want, figure out where you want it on your card, and then just make sure it's straight if you can. And then just rub it down. And then it says all is bright, push it, and there's your little light. As easy as that. Now, if you don't have the Victorian die, wherever I put it, I have those in my shop, pre-cut, that you can order as well. I know it's a really, really old die, but it's a very traditional Christmas card look, and I love it. So be sure to check out the store for those. All right, so let's get into this. So let's see what I pre-cut here. Yeah, so these are what's in the shop, what I was talking about. These carolers along with the lamppost. All right, so I pre-cut everything to make these cards. So let's see how successful I did here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just kind of show you how easy it is to do this one. We'll start with easiest to simple to more difficult. Yeah, Judy, they may not know what you're talking about. But I think these are, just look in the aisles. I can't remember. They're in the electrical section, I want to say. I wish, let me see if I have one. Oh, I do. So here's what they look like, you guys. Pittsburgh test probe sets. And like I said, you're going to get 5 of these. And they're not very expensive. And these are what I use for my pokey tools. So I've got a straight one, I've got curved ones, and they work wonderful. So if you go in and ask for the Pittsburgh test probe set, I think that probably would be a better choice. All right. So for this particular one, again, all I did was cut out 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then for those of you that bought the kit, you're going to have these, one of the vellums. I had to divide these up because they weren't cheap. Again, I wanted to keep the cost of your kit down. So, but I thought this paper was so beautiful, I wanted to include it. So whatever one you got what you got. I'm going to use this one here. And then all you need to do is figure out, what you want to use. And I'm going to go ahead and use this image here. So you just take your glue. Now this one, like I said, I cut out the oval and then I ran it through an embossing folder because I wanted it to have like a snow background. And then I'm going to add my glue here without even pre-cutting. Ooh, my stomach is growling. All right, so, and then just trying to be careful with my placement. Choosing my image, right? I want to be able to show this lady here because she looks kind of Christmassy. And then once I have my vellum glued down, then we can go ahead and we can do our cutting. Okay, so once you have that down and in place, then the only thing left to do is, again, we should have pre-cut our cardstock, right? I'm going to do white on white. Thanks for keeping you out of the loony bin. You great. You are so welcome, Jeannie. I don't want to have to go bail you out. All right. So I've already had my card cut out. All I had to do was score it. And then all I need to do is add this. Now, some people aren't crazy about white on white. Again, I think it's a very classic look, and I like it. But if you don't, you can certainly change it up to your liking, right? So on this particular one, I did pop it up just a bit with foam tape. On this one, I did not. Again, it's a personal choice. There's a lot of ways you can go here. And then if you wanted to add, you know, a little paper doll, you could do that. On this one, I'm not. I think this is very traditional Christmassy looking, so I'm cool with that. You could, if you wanted to. This is one of the dies also included in your kit. Swirls are very great and classic for Christmas. I love swirls. But these are the kind of things that are underutilized because we don't have them cut out. We forget about them, right? So I think preparation is key. So, you know, you can add a little swirl, and I think I'm going to do that here. But you can certainly add it on top. I don't want to cover this beautiful image, but I am okay with adding it, you know, here to the side. And then one of the sentiment dies that you also got in your kit was this Merry Christmas. So I don't know if I would necessarily do both of these on this. On this one, I added the Merry Christmas. So if you didn't want to add the swirl, you might want to just go with the Merry Christmas. But if you do have the swirl, then you can add this here. And we'll see what we can do for a sentiment in just a minute. Now, I talked about getting a fine tip glue, and this is why. Because these swirls are very fine tipped. And this glue can be a little bit runny, so I'm just going to be real soft-handed with it. So just being really careful just to get it where I need it. And I picked this one up at Joann's, I want to say. That you can certainly find them in all of your craft stores. And then I'm just going to add this right here. Very classic. And then if you really felt the need to put a sentiment, I wouldn't go with the big one. I just think it kind of screams at you and it takes away the simplicity of the card. But there's a couple things you can do, right? You can go with these remnant rubs. It may be a little bit more difficult with an embossed background. Or I know that, bear with me, I'm looking for them. I know a lot of us have the Tim Holtz stamps, or stickers, I should say. Find maybe a set that's black, because I think a traditional black would look better than a white. This isn't necessarily a Christmas set, but perhaps we can find something that works. Or you can stamp out your own sentiment, right? And add it on. I'm just looking real quick. And let's see. So I'll just do this as, even though this isn't Christmas, you know, maybe you're sending a Christmas card to a friend, right? So maybe you just, again, it's about using what you have. It's not necessarily about having to go out and buy new things. Now, not to say that I don't buy during the holidays. I definitely do. But you can definitely get away with using what you have if you need to. So this particular one, even though it's going to be a Christmas card, you know, I put Hello Friend on it. And then on the inside, I'll do like a Merry Christmas sentiment or something like that. So if you didn't necessarily want it to be Christmas, you didn't have to have it. But as you can see, just very, very simple Christmas card, which will make a lovely card for a friend. So that's your most simplest card that we're going to make. We're going to get into a little bit more detail, but does anybody have any questions on this design here, where you cut out the oval and you have your vellum in the background? All right, so it doesn't look like we have any questions. So we're going to go ahead and move on to this card here. Now, this card here, again, people that bought the kit will have a little easier time making this than people that didn't. In your kit, you got your Christmas, Merry Christmas. You got your die for your window. And then you got the little pieces for the background. But before we jump into that, I wanted to talk about making your own window. So I know not all of us have this window die. So let's talk about making a window, if you guys are okay with that. Because like I said, it's I don't want you to have to go out and find a product if you can make it. So to make a window, and it's going to have to be square. I'm just going to cut this down. We're going to cut out some strips here. So I want my strips to be the same size. Let's think how to do this here. going to use a smaller one. This I picked up at Tuesday morning a while ago. I know it's not Tuesday morning is no longer in business. But basically what you want to do is you just want to cut strips that are the same size. So you're going to cut several of these. And I'm just using my grid line to line them up. And I hadn't planned on showing you how to make a window. So this is just going to be a real, otherwise I would have been more prepared, but I just want to show you, and I'm just going to get you started. I don't think I'm going to make the full window, but I want to show you how you can make your own windows for scene cards. And I'll say a lot, I don't want to say all, but a lot of the dies that you see out there today are for convenience. So keep that in mind. If you're on a budget and you don't have the funds to go out and buy all these fancy dies, a lot of times you can create whatever it is, with just a little bit more time. I mean, it is going to take you more time, unfortunately, but you can certainly do that. So I'm just kind of using my window as a measurement, and then I'll tell you how big it is. All right, so this is 3 inches. All right, so you're going to want 3 inches, 2 3-inch strips. Do you guys want to see this? If you're not interested in seeing on how to do a window, I can certainly stop. But since we were talking about it, I wanted to at least show you how you can do this. And then as far as how tall you want it to be, just kind of guesstimate, So this is about, this is about 4.5. So your window can be about 4.5 tall by 3 inches. Okay. And then all you're going to do is glue these together, right? And this is very quick and fast, but I want you to give you at least the idea. So this is going to be your frame for your window. All right. Now, for those of you that got the kit, you'll have the round window. But for those of you that don't, if you want to try to make something similar to this, you might want a window. But you're following me, right? So let me cut this. Yeah, Debbie, sometimes you don't want to bring out the die machines. Yeah, I get it. And that's why I think pre-planning for Christmas is important, because we don't have a big window of opportunity to make Christmas cards, right? But if you pre-cut them, sometimes then you're just dragging it out one time without having to drag it out every time you want to cut a die. All right, so there's your basic window, you guys. And then from here, so here's my die cut, and here's this. And then from here, let me just try to make this straight. You're going to have a little gluing time, drying time. My fingers have glue, so they're sticking. All right. And then from here, what you can do is just create your panes. So if you have a grid, that's always helpful, right? Let's just try to get that straight. So if you have a grid that you can work off of, then you can easily figure out where your lines should go. So, you know, if you want it to be, you know, maybe 3 panes, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create your panes using your strips. So cut out several of these, and then just put together your window. Make sure that your squares are big enough so if you have a little image on the background, right, that you can see through it. So if the, you know, if these are too big, it looks like these are a little, this is thicker than these. If you want to go thinner, you know, you can always cut these thinner, but that's essentially how you can create your own window panes. If you wanted to get fancier, you know, good old Mr. Holtz never fails, right? He has these wooden frames here that would certainly work as well, but you're going to pay a little bit of money for these. But this could be an option as well if you wanted to just perhaps create, you know, 4. So maybe have one in the middle, just like this. So somewhere in the middle, right? So something like that. So somewhere in the middle. And then if you wanted to have a thicker strip, just like this one here, then just cut your strip a little bit thicker. Which, let's do that really quickly. And then this one here in the middle will just be a little bit thicker, right? And, you know, you can make several of these windows, you know, in one night. So, you know, again, it's kind of the assembly line mentality. Get all of your pieces cut out first. My hands have glue, so it's sticky. But get all of your pieces cut out first. And then from there, start doing your gluing. But so hope that, I know that was a impromptu lesson there. But again, if you don't have a window die, if you don't have the money, you know, to go out and buy a window die, but you want to create a little seam card, this is certainly an option for you. So that was, again, I hadn't planned on showing you how to do that, but I just wanted to show you a quick impromptu. So does anybody have any questions on that? I mean, it's certainly not as fancy as this one necessarily, but you know what? You can add holly leaves to it. I mean, you can certainly dress it up, right? You can add leaves to it on the back, on the outside. There's lots of things that you can do to dress up a windowsill. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the actual card that I intended on making. Does anybody have any questions on that? Again, just you get the idea. Just you got to basically just cut out your strips and glue them together. All right, so I'm going to put this aside to dry. Okay, so for this particular one, I already have these, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. So I have 3 cut out. Before I actually get to gluing them, of course, I want to get my walnut stain, and I'm just going to add a little bit of walnut stain to the edges. This is a choice. But I like that it kind of gives it a little bit of a highlight. All right. And then once you have this, then you've got to figure out what your background is going to be. So let me get my card base ready. How's everybody doing out there? All right, so now that we have our card base, we just kind of figure this out here. For your background, I did not give you, or maybe I did, I can't remember. But your background can be anything you want it to be. It can be, I mean, I guess it could be the vellum, right? It's a little busy. In my opinion, I want something a little bit more solid. But look through your paper, see what you have. That's what I'm doing right now. I have some backgrounds that I was saving for our background demonstration, but that kind of looks like wallpaper. We're going to be making some of these in a minute, but you know, just find some background that's not going to overtake, and you can use that. So I'm going to use this one right here. So let me go ahead and get this ready. Now so now that I have my background, are you guys with me? You've got your window, you've got your background. The next thing you're going to need is your little images. So let me find those. All right, so I pre-cut my images. You should have your images in little baggies, hopefully. And then we're going to need, on this particular one, I used the little girl and the dog and the tree. There is a cat image as well in there. But use whatever you would like. For those of you that didn't buy the kit, these images are about, I don't know, about 2 1/4 tall. So you just want to find an image that's going to make sense in your window, right? You don't want your images to be taller than your window, but you want it to look like, you know, somebody's looking through a window and sees this. So here's my tree. And then I want to use probably, what did I use? The little doggy, I guess. Right, there's the little dog. So I only ordered a limited amount of these. It's a really cute die set. So if you all are interested, if there's anybody out there that's interested, I can get some more in before Christmas. Just let me know if you are interested in getting this cute little die set, because it really is cute. It comes with a tree, a little girl, a dog. It has a little cat. All sorts of really, really cute images. All right, so once you have the images you're going to use, it even comes with bling for the tree. Then the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add your gold. Now, I did give you gold for those of you that bought the kit. I gave you gold to be able to cut out your tree trimmings with gold. So hopefully you did that. If not, that's how I did it. I guess you could cut it out in silver. That would be really pretty too. Or even just in like red or white. I guess that would work as well. I'm using my fine tip glue applicator for this. And then once I have my glue down, then I can just add it to the tree. Sometimes I feel like when I'm crafting, I'm in surgery because some of my stuff is so detailed. All right. So am I still good? Can you guys still hear me and see me okay? I just want to make sure nothing went out. Just if you guys can just give me an acknowledgement, make sure I'm still good. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. Awesome. All right. So once you've got your little tree, before you glue this down, you want to figure out your scene, right? I mean, you don't want to necessarily glue down your pieces to your background and then they're all kind of wonky, right? I mean, that's the last thing you want is your girl to be on top of the tree, your dog to be out of the frame. So you got to do some placement here. So once you glue, all bets are off. So don't glue yet. Just do your placement. So figure out, using your window exactly where you want your people to be. So, and then once you kind of get it laid down, you can add little drops of glue to make it work. So knowing I have glue here and glue here, I'm just going to add like a little droplet to get it in place. And then I'll come back after the fact to actually glue it down completely. But I just want to get her placed. So again, I'm kind of just eyeballing it. And then you see how she's kind of stuck there. And then if it's wrong, you can still pull it off. But that looks actually pretty good in her placement. And then you want to do that with every single image. So for the next one, again, we want to place the tree. And don't forget we have our little doggy. So don't forget about him. But we want to figure out where the tree needs to go. And I think the tree is going to go right behind this line. So I'm probably safe in adding a little bit of glue right there, right? I don't want to do it on my background because it'll stick. But yeah, just, just something like that. And then just give it a minute to get tacky, because that's what we're doing here is we're making it tacky. All right. Give that just a second here because it's not wanting to stick. But you get the idea. You might have to fuss with it just a bit. And then once you have it, tacky, then you can figure out where your dog is going to go. Now, if you wanted to, you could put your little doggy outside of the window. I mean, there's nothing to say that he has to be inside. Maybe he's a dog from the neighborhood peeking in, right? And then you can have him on the outside. On my card, I had him on the inside, and as you can see, he's kind of cut out. But you can do your choice here, right? Just do what makes you happy. If you want your doggy on the outside, by all means, add him to the outside. There's no rules in crafting, and that's what I love about it. And I'm certainly not a perfectionist crafter. And that's why I consider myself, like I said, a vintage inspired or a grungy type of a crafter, because I certainly do not work towards perfection. Because if I did, I would be disappointed a lot. So don't beat yourself up. Things don't have to be exactly perfect and pristine to be beautiful. I'm just kind of trying to line up my dog here because I'm going to put him inside of the window. And his poor little tail, I'm going to have to cut off part of his tail, but that's okay, right? But you guys get the idea, right? All right. Now, you also should have in your kits a little gold star that can go right to there, right to there. Let's see if I can find it in this mess here. All right, and I see it. I'm just trying to grab it. There it is. All right, these are tiny bits, guys, tiny bits. We'll just put a little bit of glue right there. And you see how this little poker comes in handy? It's not just a poker tool, it's a positioning tool. So you can use it to move some of your little bits around. All right, so now we have our scene in place, right? My dog is glued down. That's what did I say about not putting it on the paper? I broke my own rule. All right, let's re-stick him down. Okay, I'm gonna need to add a little bit more glue because I broke my own rule and I glued it to the paper. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, let's get this little doggy back in place. There we go. All right, let's give that just a second to dry. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do our paper. I have this really cool, I don't know if you guys have seen this before. I think I got this at the dollar store, but it erases glue. Maybe not this type of glue, but I know it works on this. And again, I don't care that it did that, but this is kind of a little handy tool. All right, so let's figure this out. So you can see why you want the lighter background, right? It just works better. And then I'm gonna get my glue again, my fine tip. Adhesive eraser, yes. Yeah, when I saw it at the dollar store, I knew exactly what it was. And like I said, it was just a little over $1. And I picked one up and it works really well. All right, so this fine tip is awesome for these window seals. And then, of course, you want to add a little bit of glue to your images. And then you can add it onto your cardstock. And that's your background. We're going to cut around this, so don't fret about those edges. All right. So is everybody with me so far? Very good. All right, so once you give that just a minute to dry, now you're going to cut, cut around your window frame. Without cutting your actual frame. Okay, so as I said, this takes a little bit more time to do, but totally worth it, I think. And then, if it's Christmas, of course, if you wanted to add, maybe some holly around your windowsill, you can certainly do that. If you have a small enough wreath, maybe put a wreath. But you don't want to put a wreath over your image, right? But there's a lot of ways you can work. So nope, these are not Tim's, but these are heavy duty that I use in my craft room. All right, so we're going to get some Christmas paper. So figure out, again, what paper you want to use. I'm just kind of playing here to see what I want to do. I don't want to use the vellum. I don't think that would be a good look. On this particular one, I used the black and white plaid, which certainly would be nice, right? I do have this striped one, which, I don't know, seems a little busy. Let's see what else I have. I think the plaid would be really pretty. Let me see if I can find a very unintrusive plaid. Oh, I like that. What do you guys think of that plaid? I think that plaid's perfect. All right. So I hope you like it because that's what I'm going to use. So again, it's an A2 card. Yes, I was thinking about that too, Delina, that if you had some brick paper, very traditional. Absolutely. And I've done brick backgrounds around windows before, and it looks fantastic. I think what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to introduce some textured background paper that has bricks and stone and all sorts of stuff. So if you're a Backstage Pass holder, you're going to be able to download that with your code. But yeah, I'm going to be working on that because sometimes we just want, textured looking background paper and we may not have it. I think a brick wall would be great on this background. And I have done stenciled brick walls before. I just don't want to do that on this demonstration. All right, so then all you need to do is just glue this down and then add your sentiment. So I'm going to finish this up. If anybody has any questions on this card, you saw it came together pretty easily, right? Not too hard. I think the most difficult part, of course, is the placement of your little images because you want to get them, outside of your window, right? Or inside, I should say, within your window, not outside. So I'm going to just place this here. And then I am gonna put some holly leaves, just because. I mean, let's before I say that, maybe I'm not. Yeah, because I don't want to mess up my sentiment. I'm gonna go ahead and add some glue to my sentiment. Again, just using this fine tip glue. See, it's already starting to dry up. See, that's what happens if you don't keep the lid on it. It can certainly dry up, but that's why I like this one, On Point glue, because it has the little nozzle to keep your glue flowing. and it's flowing. And you don't need much, right? So just adding what I need. All right. And then I'll just turn this over. Make sure your sentiment is right side up, because that would really stink at this point in the game to put your sentiment upside down. And then just let the glue do its thing. You know, give it a minute to grab. And then you can just put it aside. And that's it for that one, you guys. Not too hard, right? You just needed to have the right dies. Isn't that adorable? It took us a little bit more time than your traditional, quick card, but you can easily make a scene card with just a few dies. Like I said, I included this die in the kit. I'll probably get a few more for the shop because I think it's very, very cute. And if you guys are on my mailing list, you'll see when the new stuff comes in, because I'm going to be getting more items for Christmas. As you know, when you buy wholesale, you got to buy in bulk, and I'm not a big shop, so I can only buy what I can afford. But anyway, so really, really, really cute, easy card as a background card. Now, before we move on to the more difficult background card, I wanted to ask how many of you guys are watching a tutorial for the first time with me. So you've never attended any of my classes. If you could just let me know, I'm just curious. I know many of you, Anne Marie, okay, welcome. I'm so glad that you joined us. I know Cordelia, you've seen me demonstrate before. Pat, this is your first time new to the class. Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you guys joined. I hope that you are enjoying it. I wanted to give you guys, like I said, a taste of my demonstrating techniques on my channel. Yeah, so I just called you out, Cordelia. And I just wanted to give you a little taste of my style of teaching. And I actually am a business analyst as a full-time job. But this I do on the side, and I teach classes as well. So I hope that you're enjoying it. For you first-timers, I hope that you join us on our Sunday afternoon lives on my YouTube channel, where I also do technique demonstrations. I'm going to be vamping them up, and I'm going to be doing more classes. So that backstage pass is going to really be a benefit for you. But welcome to everybody. I hope that you're enjoying your first time with me. So Delina asked, do I have any other suggestions for using them? Yes, I do, Delina. We might go a little bit over, so I apologize, because I have two more demonstrations. We got this one to make, and then we're going to make tags where I actually used the little silhouettes, and then we're going to make some backgrounds. So Carolyn, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So let's get to this. Less chatter, Monica, and more crafting. So let's get busy. All right. So this one here, again, came in the kit. Let's see if we can get through it without a lot of chit chatter so we can move on. I wanted to demonstrate for you how to do some background blending. Are you guys up for that? I know you've probably seen background blending lots. It's a little bit messy, and that's why I wanted to keep it for last. But I certainly wanted to show you some of those blending colors that I shared with you. So yeah, so if I'm just going to go as long as I need to show you everything. So if I'm a little bit over 3 o'clock, if you have to, take off, I completely understand. But I want to get through everything that I wanted to get through today. All right, so this is Cordelia. I love you. You're always up for it. Wonderful. This is one of the digitals that I gave you. It is a snow background. I know a lot of us create our own snow backgrounds using distress inks and oxides, and certainly that's what I do. But I know not everybody has the time or the patience or the supplies to be able to do that, right? So I wanted to give you guys some snow backgrounds to work with. So that's what this is. This is a 5x7 card. And I apologize, I didn't cut one out. Let me get one. All right, so this card is a 5x7 card. So you're going to want a 5x7 card base. So let's see here. Anne Marie says, I've decided to make my Christmas cards this year since the A2 looks so small and a machine next to the bigger cards. A7 cards. Yes, Anne Marie. I make my fancy cards typically are 5x7. But yeah, I hear you. All right, so this is, again, a background that I provided to you as a digital. If you want to create your own backgrounds for your snow, I am going to demonstrate for you how to do that. But for right now, we're going to use the digital because we're going to get quick and dirty here. So you're going to want to, for those of you that bought the kit, of course, this is one of the kit cards that I gave you. I want to go through how to put these houses together. I cheated and I have some finished ones, but I'm going to show you how to put them together. These are the finished houses. As you can see, I put a little bling on them for Christmas lights. So that's an idea. That is an idea for you if you'd like to do that. I also included in the kit, not the full card because that would have been insane, but the Tim Holtz card. I included 2 pieces for you. So you can just have the base for your scene, but not all the details because that would have just been a lot of work for me to do that. And I love y'all, but it just was too much for me to do that. This is what the finished card looks like. It is one of the Tim Holtz dies that came out this year. Super, super cute. I used it in one of my classes also where you got the whole car. So it's a really fun die. But for you guys, for your card, I gave you 2 pieces, okay? So you're going to get a black piece and a gray piece, okay? And you're going to want to just make sure all these little bits and bobs are poked out. I will be making more cards on video with this set because it is fun. All right, so to put your card together, it's just the black over the gray. That's the first step, okay? So you're going to want to, for those of you that have the kit, just the back over the gray and glue it down. It's the first thing you want to do, all right? I'm going to use one of my fancy cards on mine, but you guys get your card together. Now, the second thing you want to do is, of course, you want to put your houses together. Now, I gave you everything that you need to make the houses. All right. Lots of little bits. First thing you want to do, especially when you're working with putting together little houses or cars or whatever, you want to separate all your bits so you know what you're working with. Put your color pieces together. If you know ahead of time what pieces go with what, you can do it that way. I've put together several of these houses already, so I kind of have an idea how they go. So, but I want to show you how to put them together. I may not glue them all together because I want to keep us moving, but I'm going to show you how to put them together. All right, so for your yellow house, okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to glue the black background onto this. All right, so I'm going to go kind of quick here. If you need on the replay, if you need to slow it down, absolutely. But I don't want to keep you guys until midnight. So that's the first step. All right, and you're going to do that for the yellow house as well as the pink house. Okay, so glue down your backgrounds. And if you have any questions, even though I'm kind of moving quickly here, give me a shout out. I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right, so now you have the base of your cards. Second thing you want to do is on this little black square, this is your window. Okay, so you're going to need, again, fine tip. Let's glue this down. If you don't have a fine tip glue, I'm going to show you what you can use. Just bear with me. All right, and then just kind of let that glue. Let that dry, I should say, not let that glue. So one of the things that you can use if you don't have a fine tip glue is, I like this matte medium. Again, this is a Tim Holtz product, but you can use just a regular paintbrush and some of the matte medium to glue down some of this stuff. So with the bigger items, you know, you can just use your regular glue, of course, but for the smaller items, you might need to either have a fine tip or what I'm going to show you next. So Anne-Marie, you got to drop off. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you catch the rest of the replay. And I appreciate you stopping by. Have a good evening and have a good dinner. All right. So for your pink card, you have your trim right here. Okay. And I'm just going to put it on top here. For your yellow card, that's this right here. All right. And then you're going to have this one here in the middle. All right. Now for this one, you got two of these. And the reason for that is because you may not be able to see on camera, but part of these are bricks and those are different colors. So we want to take your darker colored one and just trim it right where it's curving. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And then right above your window here. Okay. And that's going to be this right here. All right. Are you with me, guys, so far? Yes, on the score mark. Yeah, it's very fine. You might not be able to see it very well, but that's exactly what you're doing. You've got your trim that goes here on top. All right. This little window here goes here. And I'm not gluing for time's sake, but I just want to show you how it goes together. These little diamonds, I should have grabbed my tweezers. are going to go right next to this. All right. You guys with me so far? I know I'm not gluing it down, but for time's sake, I just want to be able to show you how it goes together. All right, perfect. Thank you, Delina. This little door here goes here. All right. Now you're going to have this white piece. Here's what I recommend. Don't put this window down until after you put your door down. So glue down your door. In fact, I'm going to do this because I learned the hard way. Said I was going to show you how to use this. It doesn't take much. So if you have a media mat, it can be a little bit messy. But if you don't have one of those fine tip glues, you can easily just, paint on your glue. And then I probably should have done this one first. And then add it. It's going to be a little bit messy on your media mat, so kind of keep that in mind. But if you don't have a fine tip glue and you have Mod Podge or collage medium, this will work as well. So I just wanted to show you an alternative to having a fine tip. And what I like about the Distress Collage medium is it dries clear. All right, so you see, that worked. And this is where my I don't know what's that. This is where my straight blade comes into play, because this will dry and I can scrape it right up. But any case, all right, so now you can add your window, right? Now you can start adding your items. So this will go here. That will go there. This pink door is going to go here. All right. Under my collage media. There it is. Thank you. So yeah, when this dries, see how it scrapes up? This is what I initially had my straight blade for, was to clean up my media, my dried media. But then I found that it worked really well with cutting straight washi tape. So just a little tip there. All right. And then these little windows here go here. So again, if you want to, use the collage medium, if you don't have a straight or a thin thin glue tip, this works just as well, you guys. It's a little bit more messier, and you want to make sure that you get this in water when you're done with it, because it will mess up your paintbrush. I use real cheap paintbrushes for stuff like this, because again, do as I say, not as I do. Oftentimes I forget to put them in water. And that could be a problem. All right, so I know I moved really fast with this house. Does anybody have any questions on it? Because I want to start putting together the actual card, because I certainly want to show you some blending techniques. Is everybody good on putting the house together? If not, give me your questions, and then I'm going to move on to putting the card together. Okay, great. So, and then this one will go here, right? This one goes up here. But you get the idea. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'm going to get everything in place, and then I'll move my fat finger so you can see it. So on the replay, if you need to refer to it, at least you'll have that. I've got glue on my fingers, so these little bits want to stick to them. All right, and that of course went there. And then once you got these glued together, this will go right in the middle. So hopefully that made sense. I want to be able to put the card together for us. All right. I thought I had a pink card made up, but I don't. I know I've got this one made up. So let me make up a pink card, pink house real quick. All right, so I mean, once you realize what the placement is, it's pretty easy to put it together. Like I said, this stuff dries clear, which is awesome. So if you even wanted to, you know, add the glue on the outside and not have to mess with the little bits, you could do that as well. Okay. These are small pieces, I know. So just take your time. Yep, give me 1 second, Teresa. So this is Distress Collage Medium. It's matte. You can also use Mod Podge, but I like this one. This is from Tim Holtz, and it works really well. And let's for the bigger pieces, of course, you can just use the regular glue. But since we're kind of on a roll here, let's just actually let's do this. So there's your awning. And then here is our brickwork on top. And then finally, a little oval. One thing I forgot to mention also, there is a little piece on top. It's really small. It's not necessary, but it is part of the design. So I'll show you. Just goes right above the window. See it right there. Yes, scrapbook.com has this set. I'll send you links along with the class questionnaire after we're done here. I do get affiliate. I have affiliate links on these, which are no cost to you, but it certainly helps me continue to give you guys free classes. All right, so let's make sure this little guy sticks. All right, so that was down and dirty. That was really quick. Hopefully you guys followed me on this. Like I said, we're almost at 3 o'clock, so I want to get us moving here. Once you have your houses, this goes fairly quickly. I'm just using my straight blade to clean up this mess. All right, so once you have your houses together, this is going to go together really quickly. You just put your background. So again, if you want to make several of these cards, what I recommend is put together your your houses first, so that way you have them all pre-made. All right, so there's that. I'm going to use a fancier car, and then all you need to do is put your houses along with your Merry Christmas. That stick. All right, your Merry Christmas is one of your dies, of course, that I gave you in the kit. Which can go up here and then just position it. And then for the tree is also in your die kit. I'm not going to glue this down, you guys, because we are running late and I want to get to a couple other things. This is your tree. You can easily just get some thread and wrap it around. That's what I did here. If you have gold twine, something thin, but that's what I did is I just wrapped it around and then I tied it. And then I glued this down. So I'm not going to glue this down because I want us to be able to move on. But does anybody have any questions on this? I know, yeah. I know, we're moving into dinner time. All right, so hopefully everybody's good with this one. Real quick, I'm going to talk about tags and then I'm going to do some backgrounds. So hopefully everybody's good with that one. But that's a great die set. You can use, non-traditional dies to make some great Christmas cards. So yeah. All right, so let me talk about tags really quickly, and then we're going to move into some backgrounds. Tags. So in your kit, you guys got this really fun jiggity jaggedy tag. I'm not going to put these together, but I'm going to show you what you can do with these. So I've got some of these really cute Christmas stickers in the shop. That would be great for these tags. The tag also comes with this little bar, so you can put somebody's name on this. If you wanted to, you can type like a sentiment, a Christmas sentiment here. Somebody earlier was asking about the silhouette. You can make little tags using that silhouette. Isn't that cute? You can use the die with just Christmas paper and add stickers. There's a lot that you can do with that. I probably will do a video making these with the stickers, but just real quick, you guys know how to make tags. Don't forget about your tags during the holidays. These are really quick ways to, sit down and get those cut out and put together in an evening, and then you have all of your tags for Christmas. I don't buy tags. I make my own tags. And if you're like me, you probably do as well. But you do have a tag in your kit that you got. All right, so I know that was quick and dirty. I'm going to move on to demonstrating some background techniques. So if you need to check out, I totally get it. But I'm going to just do a little bit of demonstrating on some blending techniques. So if you have to check out, I totally understand. No hard feelings. You can catch some of the blending on the replay. But this is definitely the most messiest way to create backgrounds, but it's a lot of fun. I created some of these backgrounds. You did get some washi tape in your kit, so you can easily create backgrounds and use your sentiments. Use those little swirls that I shared with you earlier. There's that star stamp again. Here's another one. You guys in your kit got the 25. Here's an idea for your card with just backgrounds that we're going to create in a minute here, and using this big Merry Christmas die along with this one as well. So in your kit, you guys got this stencil here, which we're going to play with. But what I'm going to show you will work with all sorts of stencils. And it's very, I want to say unintrusive, because sometimes stencils can be a little bit intrusive. And when I say that, it's because it can be really bold and at your face. Yep. Thanks, Cordelia. Thanks for stopping by. I know we're running late, but I just want to show you just real quickly here. For those of you that can stay on, I want to show you how I create backgrounds. Now, in the email that I sent you earlier, I sent you a really great combination of how to use some of your dyes, or excuse me, how to use some of your inks. And that's what we're going to talk about here. So the moon, to me, is very traditional for Christmas cards. And these are a couple of die sets from Tim Holtz that I've had in the past that I've used. This isn't necessarily a Christmas. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for stopping by. This isn't necessarily a Christmas die, but as you can see with the big background moon, I was able to incorporate that into a Christmas die. These are Tim Holtz stencils. I do have some of these smaller stencils in my shop as well. What else here? So some of the backgrounds that we have here are just really great for Christmas. This one here is cracked pistachio, stormy sky, faded jeans, and black soot to be able to create this. This one here is stormy sky, speckled egg, weathered wood, and lost shadow. Yeah, I think the new moon was a die. I did see that, Debbie. Yep. I like creating flat moons, so I probably won't be getting that one. This one here is tumbled glass, salty ocean, and faded jeans. And then I just sprinkled some water to give it that speckled look. And then this one here is broken china and stormy sky. But here's where remember we made that card with the snowbank? This is what I use to mask off to create my own backgrounds. And that's what I want to show you right now on how to do that. But I did send you that combination of colors that you can use. So hopefully that will help you. So just real quick, we're going to do just one demonstration because I know we're getting late. And I'll use let me cut this down. So let me use this stencil first. When I'm creating backgrounds that I know I'm going to be cutting up, a lot of times I like to start out with a large sheet. And let me tell you why. I'm going to just kind of be random about this. And then I'm going to cut it up for an even more random pattern. Find my colors. So I'm going to just start off creating just a really simple background. And I'm going to use Stormy Sky. This is going to be a winter background and speckled egg. So just very, very simple. So I'm just going to add some of this ink here. And I know you guys have probably seen this a zillion times, so apologies if this is a repeat. And then I'm just going to just spritz this down. I'm just going to be very random about this. I'm not looking for real deep colors. I'm just looking for color. I don't like stark white backgrounds, especially for Christmas cards, but I don't necessarily want my background to overtake my card either. So as you can see, it's just very subtle, but it has a really cool effect. All right. Now, once I have my background, you know, you might want to get a drawing tool to it. Then this is where you can come in with stencils. Now, the stencil that I gave you in the kit is what I'm going to be using, but you can do this with any of your stencils. So kind of keep that in mind. What I like to do is I like to play with my stencil. So I will add ink to this and I'll spritz it and I'll just kind of control it because I'm not looking to, you know, add lots of ink. I'm not looking for this pattern to be very distinct. I'm looking for it to create a subtle background. And as you can see on these cards, you can see the subtleness of the background without it overtaking. This one I actually stenciled out with my little dauber. But what I'm going for here is just the subtleness of the background. Does anybody have any questions on that? All right, so for this, I'm going to use Shabby Shutters. And I'm just going to add some color to my stencil. And I know that it's not adding full coverage, and that's what I want. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spritzer and I'm going to add water to this just to give it some moisture. All right. And then I'm going to make sure you dry your background. Now with this, now what I can do is I can come in here and I can control the placement of this to be very subtle. Georgiana, you didn't get the stencil? Email me after the class and I'll make sure I get you one. So this is what I'm talking about doing a very subtle background. You get pieces of the stencil without it overtaking it. I love this technique because you can create some awesome looking backgrounds using stencil. I mean, nobody would look at this background and think, wow, that's a square background because it's very subtle. And I love the way that looks. I know that was kind of quick and dirty here, but do you guys understand the technique? That's really what I wanted to show you with the stencils, and then we'll get into some blending techniques. So once you do this, and I like using the 8x10, because then what you can do is you know, sit down one night. Sit down one night, create several of these panels, and then when you're ready to create cards, just cut them, and then you're ready to go. And you can even take it a step further. You know, if you're ready to work on these, let me just cut one out real quick. So if you're ready to, you know, start working on this, you can get antique linen. I love antique linen. You can get your antique linen. And make it a little bit aged. So, you know, that's still pretty white. What you can do is get some antique linen and then just age it a little bit, right? Doesn't have to be a lot. And now you have it a little bit more aged. So antique linen is, again, I think underrated. I think it's a great way to make your cards look older. And then if you want, you know, more shadow, coming in with walnut stain. But that was just my quick and dirty demonstration with the stencil. I'm going to do some more tutorials on stencils, using your stencils for the holidays. But I wanted to show you how you can kind of control the image for the background and create a real subtle background and still have room to stamp on it if you want to. I mean, because this isn't intrusive, right? But it's still a great background. But you can still stamp on it and still get some great results. All right, so last thing here. So before I finish up, does anybody have any questions? Because this will be the last technique. I know we're running a little bit over, but I definitely wanted to share with you. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to create a moon is what we're going to do. But I also want a night sky. So for my night sky, one thing I would recommend if you're new to blending, it doesn't hurt to create swatches, kind of like what I showed you. So, you know, to get an idea of what colors look like, you know, you might want to make some swatches and then put the color combination on the back. This one is a great sky. It works great for Halloween, and it also works great for Christmas. And this is the Cracked Pistachio, Stormy Sky, Faded Jeans, and Black Soot. And this is what I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to just kind of get real busy here so we can move it forward. So Cracked Pistachio. Oh, yes, Delina, thank you. So while I'm doing this, we'll talk about the card. So the inside of the card, let me just talk real quick about that. I gave you guys some principles. And the way that I use these is I cut these and then I mat them. So for the inside of your card, yes, you're just going to cut these down. And this was one of the 5.5. This was one of the freebies that you guys were given. So you can, you know, you can just cut these down and then mat them and use these for the inside of your card. I also do stamp on my inside of my cards, but if you need to, create inside of a card for several of your cards, I love this because these little corners here, you can easily line it up on your cutting, and then this is small enough where you can mat it and have it for the inside. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. So I did give you this as a freebie. Hopefully you guys downloaded this, but these are great for the insides of your cards. And that's what I wanted to cover with you. All right, so Cracked Pistachio, Stormy Sky is what we want to use. Faded Jeans and Black Soot. Black Soot is another one. It's one of my favorites. A lot of people don't use it. And I think it's fantastic because it gives you some great shadowing. All right, so everybody approaches blending differently. I have blending, what are these called? Sponges for my colors. But what I would say is if you don't have, multiple blending tools, and you're kind of working along, here's what I would say. And I got this from Tim. This was not what I said. This is what he said. He doesn't have a blending sponge for every single color. He has sponges for light colors. So in other words, he'll have a sponge for blues. He'll have a sponge for his greens. He'll have sponges for light colors. And he will mix and match. And I'll show you that here in a minute. What he won't do is he won't mix oxides and regular distress inks. That's the no-no there. So if you need to use the same foam, because you don't want to go out and buy a foam for every color, then if you stick within the color family, you should be all right. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to just kind of working with our stencil, because we're going to create a moon. You want to get this haze here, you want to start with your Cracked Pistachio. You can use grays, anything where you want it to be kind of hazy. And I just kind of add color. I don't add a lot because this is my haze, okay? And we're going to blend it in a minute. So don't fret about the harsh lines. So I'm just adding a little bit of color. Because that's going to be my haze in the background. And then I might do that. I mean, you can do that a lot of ways. Maybe we'll add just a little bit of blue in here. Right. I'm just adding some background color. All right. So once you've got your haze colors, yep, you can absolutely wash your foams and dry them out for sure. Once you have your haze color, then this is where you want to add your mask, okay? And I'm going to start with Stormy Sky. So I'm going to go lighter, and then I'm going to go darker. And I'm going to add this all over my card, okay? So just starting on the edge. Oxides are a little bit more easy to blend than inks. I will say that. Now, I have a tutorial out there on blending. So if you go to my YouTube channel and just click on or search for ink blending. I do have tutorials out there. I know this is going to be really quick, but check out my YouTube channel to be able to find, you know, more tutorials. Now, instead of doing the whole thing like I said I was going to do, I'm going to actually add some dark. So again, we're going to blend it. It looks a little harsh here, but bear with me. So I added some dark, right? And then I'm going to come back through. There's layering involved. I'm going to come back through with my Stormy Sky, and this is where I'm really going to use some muscle power and do my blending. Now with that haze, there's different combinations of hazes. You can have, you know, purple. You can have, there's lots of ways to do that. Like I said, I'm going to have one tutorial on just blending, I think, because it's a great technique. All right, so that's kind of in a nutshell, just two easy blending colors. Now, to bring the color in, before I do that, let's add my stencil here. Now for this, I'm going to use Lost Shadow. And I think I have, yeah. So I'm going to, just going to use some gray here, just to give me the highlights of the craters on the moon. So Lost Shadow is a great choice because it's very, very subtle. All right. And then to bring the colors in, as you can see here, I've got my colors coming in. This is really easy, you guys. So what I like to do is just get my tool here and just pull the color in. It's just very slight hand. Another way you can do it, if you have other types of brushes, you can pull in with just a paintbrush, but this will also help with your haze as well. So hopefully that makes sense. And then if you wanted to have like kind of like a I don't know, like a shiny part around your moon, a purple is really good for that. Let's see if I can find one. So maybe just get a little bit of purple and just just add a little bit of haze. And you see how it kind of gives you that shimmer a little bit on the outside. I know I'm going fast, but I just kind of want to show you some of my techniques here that I use. And then you can always just come in and do, do more blending. All right. So that's pretty good. The last thing I'm going to show you is, of course, if you want to create that moon bank that I shared, when you're, rather than having your moon stencil, your stencil would be down here, when you're blending, and then you would blend, and then the bottom portion would be white. But that's how you create the moon or the snowbank when you're working with distress inks. And then finally, that black soot that I was talking about. Black soot is great for a dark sky. Some people don't like this extra step because it is rather dark. But I think it's fabulous. All right, so black soot. So this is actually the distressed ink and not the oxide. I suppose you could use the oxide, but I like how dark this comes out. Now bear with me, because you're like, oh, Monica, why do I want this black ring around my card? But we're going to blend it. All right. So that's all you need. And then you're going to go back again to your lightest color, which was your stormy sky. And what's my moons? And you're going to reblend the whole thing. Okay. So that black harshness has gone away, right? So you may have to blend a few times to get the desired look, but that's what's great about the inks, Tim's inks, is they all work really well together. And you can, if you don't like that black harshness, just keep working it. But it makes an awesome sky. So just play around. What I would recommend is practice. You don't have to sit down and create a masterpiece every single time. To be able to be a good blender, to be able to be a good card maker, you have to practice like anything. So where it is. And then, I'm going to finish off this card, but isn't that wonderful? So I think these would make, and then I'll frame it with a black border, and it'll go on to the black soot was the ink. Yes, you probably could use the oxide, but you're not going to get that dark shadow, in my opinion, with the oxide. And that's why I use the actual ink. It's just my personal opinion. But yeah, it's the black soot just really gives it that look. And then of course, once you've got this, you can start adding your die cuts, whatever you have. But I know that was quick. We didn't give enough time for my favorite part, which is blending. But I promise you, I will have some tutorials out there for blending. And we'll see if we can make us all really good at blending. So with that, I hope everybody had a good time today. I know we went a little bit over, so I apologize. I apologize for that. But I certainly wanted to share with you some of my personal techniques and what works for me. For those of you that got the kit, hopefully you were happy with it. I try to be very generous with my kits, keeping in mind, my budget, of course. So I will have more classes in the future. I hope that this kind of gives you a jump start for your Christmas cards and inspires you to start thinking about what you want to do. Practice. blending takes practice. So just practice. Don't feel like you have to sit down and make a masterpiece every single time. Just practice. And as you practice, you'll get better at it. So I encourage you to check out my shop. That's what kind of supports my channel and enables me to give you guys free classes and whatnot. I will have more classes in the future. Consider joining my Backstage Pass, because you will get my classes for free next year, along with access to all of my digitals. And that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys have a great evening. Debbie, happy birthday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I appreciate you all so much. Drawing, Delina, thank you. All right. Yes, for those of you that want to stick around, I do have a drawing. Yes. Thank you for keeping me honest. All right. So I have 4. Let me go back down. Delina, you are so good at keeping me on the ball. Cheryl, yes, thank you. Let's do this really quick. I'm glad you guys stuck around and listened to me chit chat. All right, here's my messy desk. All right, I'm going to turn off the recording. So bear with me, stop recording and recording. All right.